don't know about you guys. Modern art sucks.
I agree. Yeah,
Agree?
of course.
Bo?
Yeah, nearly all abstract art is a joke. Bad joke.
I find that, you come across some art that you go, yeah, that's quite nice, but then you forget the artist's name by the end of the day, and there's nothing that appealing to me anymore, to be honest, because of the times that we're living in. So you may have heard the news recently about the Fourth Plinth in London, but before we go ahead,
we have a magazine. It's not just any magazine, it is Islander magazine, and it is a very good magazine. It's got lots of good things in it. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's a beautiful magazine, and yes, we've got lots of good authors in it. We have Carl Benjamin, Dr. Nima Parvini, Morgoth's Review, Roeg Nationalist, Marcus Follin, Dave Green, Stefan Molyneux, Christopher Jolliffe, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And lots of other people as well. Some surprises in there. So if you want to get this for a limited time, because we did the first edition, it did very well. It's no longer for sale. You can't get this magazine anymore. It is not available anywhere. So if you want to get this limited edition, very high quality product, buy it now before it's out of the store.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Speaking of something not so beautiful, however, let's take a look at the Fourth Plinth artwork, where it's The Guardian have written a lovely article about it, of course. London's Fourth Plinth artwork aims to unite trans community around the world. Trafalgar Square piece by Mexican artist Teresa Margoles is made of masks depicting faces of transgender and non-binary people, and as you can see there, it's just on top of the plinth with lots of people's faces on it.
So, but normally when people wear a mask, I'm going to be careful what I say here, you are embodying something that is not your usual self.
Yes.
And normally masks express a certain significance of hiding one's real identity.
Like an alter ego.
Yeah, something like that. Normally it's sort of you dress up for an occasion. Something like that.
Well, that's correct, Wendy. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking.
Very good.
Hope people got that reference. I got completely mad. That's so ugly.
Yeah,
It's one of the ugliest things.
Yeah. It's
a collection of is that plasticine? It looks like plasticine masks.
Are they death masks?
It says a towering cuboid made of more than 300 masks depicting the faces of transgender and non-binary people. This year's Fourth Plinth artwork has been described as a piece designed to, quote, unite the trans community around the world. The Mexican artist Teresa Margoles was flanked by members of her country's trans community as mil veces un instante, I think I've said that right, 1,000 times in an instant, it's called, was unwrapping in Trafalgar Square on Wednesday. Now, obviously, this has been doing the rounds, as it would, putting the Fourth Plinth as just faces of I'm trying to be careful with my words. Transgender people and the non-binaries. I don't get it. Sorry, I don't get it.
So what was the
actual
purpose of this, as stated by the artist, of course, not the actual...
Unite trans communities.
So how are people united by this statue exactly?
Well, it says each of the masks that make up of mil veces un instante has a name and features traces of the person on whom it was based, with lipstick smears and false eyelashes visible on the work. I mean, they're digging themselves their own hole, if I'm totally honest. I believe that is the artist in front of it. She doesn't look too happy. Might I point that out?
Is it a she?
I don't know.
I don't want to speculate, just in case, because we're not allowed to, in case we get arrested.
Schrodinger's artist.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There's a close up.
It's very.
Has it been sterilised? I think it's a public health.
Could be a public health hazard.
I'm reminded of a certain scene in The Silence of the Lambs.
Leatherface is not his fine work. But then I thought, well, I don't really know much about sort of the Fourth Plinth in Trafalgar Square. I'm sure you guys do a lot more, and like a bit of the history about it, because I know that that has been left blank after a certain someone came into the country. You know about this more than I do, I think, Bo.
Well, yeah, just obviously there's Trafalgar Square with Nelson's column in the middle.
That's it. Yeah.
And the other three, what are they? George the Fourth, the Prince Regent, Sir Henry Havelock, and Charles Napier. So great, all of them great sort of Victorian, or obviously the Prince Regent pre-Victorian heroes. And then there's one corner, the Fourth Plinth, where they put other things on it. I think, was it not that long ago? I think maybe under Ken Livingstone, when they decided they would just rotate whatever's on that Fourth Plinth. They will just keep rotating it. And of course, immediately, because it was already the late 90s, already 2000s, and under Red Ken, a communist, immediately put something disgusting and degenerate and perverted on it where possible. So, for example, like, there's just been loads of different sculptures put on it, and they're nearly always revolting and ugly, nearly always. And this sort of takes the biscuit. For me, everything about that is alien.
Of course it is.
Right, it's a Mexican artist with the faces of Mexican people put in that cube, which is alien to the English aesthetic. Everything about it is weird and wrong and doesn't fit.
I agree.
So, but that's why, though. You ask why? Why? Well, that's why. Because it's deliberate.
Yeah.
It's deliberately subversive. It's deliberately, I think, to juxtapose people like Havelock and the Prince Regent and Napier. And of course, it's also right in front of the National Gallery. Or is it the National Portrait Gallery? They're next door to each other. No, it's the National Gallery, which is this great sort of classical edifice. It looks like the front of the Parthenon or whatever, sort of. Again, just classical lines, easy on the eye, and so the commies have got an opportunity to put something disgusting in the middle of all of that, like the perfect symmetry of Trafalgar Square. So yeah, let's put something gross and weird there.
There's already enough disgusting things in London as is.
Yes, true.
You mentioned the walkie-talkie in the last segment. That's one.
Well, Sadiq Khan and Westminster, I guess it's sort of Westminster Council. I don't know. It might not be, but yeah, it's completely overrun by weirdos and freaks that are going to, if they would, they would rip down Nelson's column.
Yeah.
They would rip down the other three statues.
Yeah.
They would replace anything that reminds us of our heritage and history. They would do away with it, sweep it away, and replace it with something freakish. If they could, but at the moment all they control is that Fourth Plinth, so that's what they do.
Well, I thought then we could have a broader discussion a bit about art, contemporary art, modern art. As I've given away at the start of the segment, I hate it. I hate all of it. Actually, there's nothing that I really like, actually. And I'm, I watched, and we'll talk about it at the end, but I watched Roger Scruton's documentary, Why Beauty Matters, I believe it's called. It's a very important documentary because he goes through modern art and how it's just been completely perversed. It's subverted completely. And I wanted to go through some of the top 10 most influential contemporary British artists, according to this website, Angela Edwards, and just see if they're any good, really. I mean, already, I don't know what that is.
If you squint, you can almost make out something.
There's a moon, water, something else.
I haven't.
And then a fever dream of nonsense done by someone who isn't any good at art.
There you go.
That's what that is.
That's contemporary artists. So the top 10, I don't know who this is. Tracy Emin.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Born in Croydon, 1963. She's considered one of the young British artists who rose to prominence in the 90s.
She is. She's quite famous. She once did an installation which was just her unmade bed.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We'll be getting onto that.
One of her things.
That is the same woman.
Yeah. She's a moron, yeah.
Francis Bacon is another one, obviously
not
born in Ireland.
Francis Bacon. Different one.
There's two Francis Bacons.
No.
Yeah. One's good, one's less so.
I mean, can you make out what those are on the right?
Yeah, they're nightmarish visions of someone who isn't very good at art, again.
It's... Anyway, didn't... what's his name? Hieronymus Bosch already do that sort of thing with the Garden of Earthly Delights and things like that. That was 13th century, where he was creating these weird creatures,
right,
and all that sort of thing. He's been there and done it about 700 years ago.
Me and Josh did a piece of content ages ago, didn't we? Like 2 years ago or something, talking a deep dive, long form conversations about modern art, and we went through all this. And one of my observations is that it usually boils down to, I talked about Rothko a fair bit in that. What it boils down to is the reality is these are people that can't do fine art.
No.
They're not capable of it. People always argue with me about that with Rothko. Oh no, look at his early stuff. He was actually good. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. His contemporaries said he was very poor as a draftsman, at being able to draw, essentially. Couldn't really do. So you end up doing crap.
Weird stuff like
and
that.
then talking big about it.
Exactly.
And if there's enough dupes to buy into it and actually buy it, then you can make a living that way. But don't ask me to buy into the nonsense.
And it's usually after you're dead. It's usually when you make the most. You know, I like Silent Hill, stuff like that, all the weird creatures in that and the artwork in that. I can appreciate that. But
I wouldn't want it on my walls.
Same? Yeah, I wouldn't want it on my walls.
I think it's at least interesting. Like the weird creatures, I can kind of humour that a little bit more. We actually talked about this one, didn't we?
David Hockney.
Yeah.
Born in Bradford, attended Bradford College of Art from 53 to 57. Mandatory army service, influential figure in the pop art movement with paintings and installations like The Splash, A Bigger Splash, and American Collectors.
See, they're not all the same. If you look, see, that Hockney painting, it's actually exhibits that he is okay if he wants to be, right? He's made the conscious decision not to be. There are some examples. Someone like Picasso,
right?
He decided by the end of his life anyway, he completely abandoned good art, but he was capable of it.
Yeah,
I think Jackson Pollock again was capable, deliberately chose not to. So there's two different types.
Do you think it's laziness?
I think there's two different types. There's someone like Hockney or Picasso who made a deliberate decision. Then there's people that were never good at it, never good artists in the first place, like Rothko.
Yeah.
So I actually make a distinction between those different types of people. Like if you ask Tracy Emin to make something photo quality with oils on canvas, she wouldn't be. I'm sure she wouldn't be able.
She can't even make her bed.
Right.
Just saying.
Anyway.
She really captures the lifelessness of her eyes.
Yeah.
Well, there to be fair.
This one's Jenny Saville, unfortunate surname.
Yeah.
But
it's too close to.
Yeah.
I feel a bit sorry for her for that. But
it's not her fault. She has become renowned for her paintings of fleshly women, which often include self-portraits. Artists exploring the physicality of the female body, and has been compared to, is it Lucian Freud? Is that how you say it, Lucian?
Yeah.
In her style of painting.
Was he the documented paedophile, Lucian Freud? Was he?
I don't know.
Was he the one that lived in Portugal, where Madeleine McCann? Maybe it's one of the other Freuds. Anyway. You can tell she's got some skill, some ability, but how narcissistic though? What a narcissist.
That's how I feel about most artists anyway, really, like majority of them. And I believe that we've got some Damien Hirst.
Tasteless.
Just someone's skull, but
funny thing about Damien Hirst is he often actually admits these sorts of things.
Yeah.
I've seen him say about his own work occasionally. Yeah, it's sort of the Emperor's New Clothes. It's funny that people take me this seriously.
Oh, interesting.
Not always though. It depends what mood you catch him in. But But
that's the funny paradox about it, though, isn't it? Because you do anti-art, let's say, and it becomes artistic. It becomes part of that, like the can of S.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like that.
The
I thought you were going to talk about the can of Campbell's soup by.
Oh, that's the pop art, isn't it?
Yeah. No, we're talking a can of literal.
All right.
Feces.
Oh, that one passed me by. I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about that in our series. Yeah,
I've whited that from my memory.
Yeah,
an artist selling.
Sorry to bring it back up.
Selling his own excrement.
Another one. There you go, Lucian Freud. Grandfather was Sigmund Freud. Became one of the founding fathers of contemporary era. So he's kind of to blame, really. Well, in a way,
Freud wasn't good for psychology, and he's not good for art.
There you go. State of that. Richard Hamilton. Never heard of him.
See what is produced there on the right hand side.
Yeah, like what's
okay. That is a nonsense. If you take that seriously, It's a practical joke that's on you if you take it seriously.
Yeah.
I could have
That's what I
produced that
think
at
it is.
2 years old.
Yeah.
You know, it's not difficult.
Don't know what that is. Barbara Hepworth.
Or sort of organic sculpting, it looks like.
No.
Abstract sculpture.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that rich people would have in
Yeah,
like a large foyer. Oh, this has got to be Banksy.
Yeah. Arguably, I'm going to really upset people with this. Arguably the most overrated. I don't like Banksy at all. I used to when I was growing up, when I was a kid, because I thought it was so anti-establishment, so cool. And then you look back and you go, is it though?
It's very pro-establishment, and also, I don't think graffiti is good. I think it's a public nuisance, and I think he encourages people to go out and graffiti nonsense everywhere.
Yeah.
And the fact that people carry water for him is ridiculous, because it's all you're doing is making a stencil and spraying paint through it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, stencil work. Oh, well done. Slow hand clap.
Yeah.
You made a stencil. No, I hate Banksy and everything he is. Stands for.
Yeah. I mean, I could go further and say I don't even see graffiti as art at all.
No,
really.
that's fair enough. I don't either.
I don't see it as...
A lot of it is like tagging for gang stuff and youths being rebellious for the sake of it. There's nothing artistic there.
He's this is a conspiracy theory, of course. He was 100% because of the work that he's done over the years, for the decades, and never been caught, never been charged, never been arrested. He can still retain his identity. He's 100% in bed with the establishment. 100%. That's what I believe.
Well, from all the puff pieces written in The Guardian and, you know, all that sort of stuff, talking about Banksy like he's some sort...
Some sort of hero, like working class hero or something.
No, of course not.
It's just mental. So that's Banksy as well. And Peter Doig. Heard of this guy? Is that how you say it? Doig?
I don't know.
That
it doesn't
thing-
deserve the respect. Yeah,
That's like a year 10 effort, isn't it?
if I painted that as with no artistic skill whatsoever, I'd still be ashamed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, if someone in a year 9 or year 10 class produced that, the teacher should be, this is borderline whether we're going to put it up in the corridor.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've got some
Pat on the back and that's it.
We've got a couple of tests we want you to take to find out your mental capabilities. Don't worry, you'll be fine.
But art has had its controversy, of course. And here are 10 controversial artworks that have changed history according to Magazine Artland. Couldn't even try to pronounce that. Apologies, but it's French.
Edouard Manet.
Manet,
Degenerate
quite famous.
sur des Herbert. Guessing.
The unabashed presence of nude women surrounded by fully clothed men in the dress of that period scandalised the art world and even public.
It's funny because in the ancient world, 2,500 years earlier, he was able to show a bare-breasted Venus or something.
Yep.
But the prudish mid-19th century was not so happy with it.
Next one is Fountain. I think this is a very famous one.
Yeah, well, this was
a urinal.
This was just satire, though, wasn't
I was
it?
going to mention it earlier.
Yeah.
Well, this is where the first comes up the idea that it's a joke. Yeah, it's a satire.
And people, the problem is with the art world, they take things so you have to look for meaning in things, and and just.
But you
I hate
can,
it.
You
Hate
project meaning on meaningless things, can't you?
Exactly.
That's a problem in the world, is that trying to read too much meaning into things can be detrimental to you. It can affect your entire view of reality in a detrimental way.
It's like beauty, and I think we've had a conversation. We were doing the C.S. Lewis segment about what is beauty, what makes something beauty. Is it objective or is it subjective? Beauty is objective, right?
Yeah, well, there's an example, I think it's in Wales potentially, of a waterfall that was named 3 different times. And it was recognised as significant as warranting a name, and the name translates to waterfall, waterfall, waterfall. But the notion is that 3 different cultures saw it as significant enough to give it a name because it's beautiful, because everyone can identify that a waterfall is beautiful. In fact, there have been studies done whereby they showed chimpanzees pictures of waterfalls, and chimpanzees look at waterfalls more than other things because supposedly they would have some sort of perception of it. So even non-human primates can identify this stuff, which seems to indicate that there is something tangible and real to it if non-human animals can do so.
Exactly. What's next? Picasso. The 1937 mural, which depicts the massacre of Basque village as well.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't necessarily call it good art, but it's at least interesting. It's kind of funny in a sort of silly, juvenile way.
It's terrible art, but
It's terrible,
as I say, there are examples of Picasso as a much, much younger man. It's not like he didn't possess the ability to do something beautiful. So he's making a conscious decision there. But yeah, I hate it. That's disgusting.
Next one was Jackson Pollock, which is just...
I hate this sort of stuff.
We're in the jazz age.
Yeah.
And they've lost their mind at this point.
Yeah.
They've bought into the Duchamp fountain thing at this point. They're starting to believe their own...
Yeah, it's because they're all
nonsense.
on LSD. They're all on something that, they're trapped in their own minds. And it's
jazz.
Scrambled.
That's
Some of the best
visual
music.
representation of
I
jazz.
know. Yeah, I know. That's the argument. Red Hot Chili Peppers better on Smack. I've heard that. I've heard that before.
Well, they're better when they use an effects pedal.
You mentioned about the soup cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See now it's nothing. Now it's sort of self-parody, if that even.
Yeah.
No.
No. Then you got the real sort of... Well, you got blasphemy, of course.
Sure.
Well, let's move on. Just move on from that, because it's just... I just get so bored of stuff like that. I mean, it's always that. It's always Jesus Christ every single time.
Well, these people are nearly always very, very childlike.
Yes, childlike
and
mentality.
so the idea of breaking a taboo.
Yeah.
So I'll put a urinal and call it a fountain and make you pretend that you're looking at a good piece of art. Tee hee hee. Or we'll have a tin and fill it with actual excrement.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right, we'll do something
Am
about
I
Christ.
so inventive and funny? Look at me.
We'll ridicule Christ.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, okay.
9-year-old stuff.
Yeah. Indeed. I've never understood this one. The dropping a Han Dynasty urn, 1995.
Again, because it's a taboo thing. Isn't it? No normal person would do that.
It's true.
So I'll do it, and look at me. Again, very, very not nihilistic, narcissistic, self-absorbed.
Yeah.
I thought the Han Dynasty collapsed 1,900 years ago. I mean, I'm not... So it's a 200-year-old urn. Hang on a minute. Oh, well. Never mind.
I get all my dynasties mixed up. Maybe there's the Han have come back more than once. It might be.
Just keep on coming back, the Han.
Yeah.
And there's the bed one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's drivel, isn't it?
Unfortunately, I believe that is not with us anymore. I believe it got burnt down. Loads of Tracy
no.
Emin's art was held in a big lockup somewhere in East London, and it accidentally completely burnt down one time.
And the world's
I
better
think
off
the bed
for
was
it.
in there. So, real shame,
Yeah.
crying shame that.
Do the Clarkson meme like, oh no.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I don't think my bedroom's ever got that messy in my entire life either, so she's a dirty lady.
Yeah, I think there's a used tampon in there at some point.
Oh.
Again, just deliberately gross. Pretty sure that was an element of it. Can you imagine people standing around it, looking at it from different angles? Very interesting. I can see what she's saying.
I wish
Yeah.
I'd known about this when I was a teenager and my parents would come into my room and say, you need to tidy your room, and say, actually, this is art.
Yeah.
Excuse me, you're not cultured.
Well, of course,
Clip round the ear, probably.
there's different types of art, of course, and I'm being a bit facetious, I guess, if I say, oh, it's all bad, modern art's all bad. Like I said earlier, you might find something, a painting or a whatever, a graphic design, that you go, that's very appealing to the eye, I really like that. But you forget the artist's name by the end of the day, and you don't really remember it. It doesn't have a cultural impact. It's not like some of the ones on this timeline, like Renaissance. You can point to Renaissance and say it had a cultural significance, it had meaning, it was impressive. I just feel like, well, we know that IQ's dropping, so maybe it has a correlation with that. Maybe people are getting lazier.
Well, I think that IQ might be dropping because of migration. It's not that, your average European person is getting dumber necessarily.
Could go down the fluoride route, I guess. We'll leave that for another time, I guess.
There are some things in modern art which I don't mind. It's not everything. I don't hate it all out of just completely out of hand. For example, once I went to, I think it must have been the Tate Modern, if I recall, and they'd got like a small shed or an outhouse or something made of wood, and they'd blown it up. They put a small amount of dynamite or explosive in the middle, and blown it up. Then got all the pieces back together, and it was like an installation inside, and put them back together on little sticks from the ground, sort of an instant after the explosion. So it was like this outhouse, small shed thing, like sort of frozen in time, just as it exploded. And for me, that was sort of at least interesting or cool on some level.
Do you remember who did it?
No, don't remember who did it. I don't remember the exact point they were trying to make.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they had one.
They hate outhouses.
But I didn't hate it. I didn't. Right. So there are occasionally something, but
it doesn't make an impact. It's not like a cultural significance.
No.
It's like
yeah.
But there was something quite new that one of the guys from Lotus actually found, and it was a painting of a naked woman sparks police gallery visit. So the police actually turned up. Can we show the image? Is that
probably best not to?
Well, probably best not to. I won't go down.
Does it have any? Is it got nudity in it?
I mean, it's poorly drawn breasts. Should we?
Samson,
we leave that.
They're pretty.
Should we just
prudish.
describe? Can I describe it, but not too graphically? It's based. It's no. Okay, pressure's on now. It's a drawing that's about the height of, I don't know, like a 4'11", someone who's 4'11" or something, like a child or something that can see it. It's that height. We're just going to check to see if we can show it.
The censors.
Samson's the ultimate arbiter.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You can have a little look. You can see that. So to describe it, it's a woman with her legs open. But the eye view is very low down, I think, and it's poorly drawn, but it had the police called to it, and the artist,
The Sharia police?
probably. She chose the painting for the window partly because of its proportions. Soon after it went on display on Monday, she said she was called back to the gallery after reports of abuse from some members of the public. On Thursday, she said police told her to remove it from the window and place it further inside the gallery.
I think that's probably fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind this sort of thing being in a gallery, or it's time and place, isn't it? You can't be too prudish, but at the same time, if it's on like a high street and you've got like a gallery shop, and you're walking by, that, I don't think it's necessary.
No, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
But I saw that she'd written a note in front of the graphic bit, let's just say. Where it says, some people may be offended by the painting. This is not corn in the window. We hear what you say, and we would like to open up a dialogue about this issue.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate people that are like that.
We need to open up who talks like that? What are you?
I want to open up a dialogue just because I painted some really poor image of someone showing their
This is someone
garden.
Just absolutely desperate for any sort of attention, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Painfully obvious cry for attention of any stripe.
And by the way, we should not say her name or where it is. Just for that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But of course, I don't think we can show the swear word, of course. But I rewatched the clip that I posted 2 years ago, I think this was, where Michael Craig Martin, who was showing Sir Roger Scruton, who's sadly no longer with us, said the artist's function is to make someone see something as beautiful, something that nobody thought was beautiful up until now. And Sir Roger Scruton said wittingly back, right, like a can of S, in reference to the can of excrement that was used as anti-art, I believe, in the 60s?
It's around that sort of
around
time,
that sort of decade.
It's a French artist, I think.
Yes.
Of course it was.
Of course it was.
I'll double check that, actually.
But if anyone hasn't seen it, the documentary is called Why Beauty Matters, and it was released...
Italian.
Italian?
Yeah.
Interesting. Why Beauty Matters by Roger Scruton. It came out in 2009, and it's a good insight into how modern art sucks, really, is to be plainly honest. I don't mind art. I like Renaissance because of its history. I like how it looks. It's impressive to look at. I like art that screams, how did they do that? It's like when I watched Blade Runner for the first time, and with all this, like the buildings and everything, the sets. How do they do that? Even the newest Blade Runner with the AI model, and
It was great.
you know, it was great. And I was like, how did they do that? I like that. It's the mystery behind it. How did someone do that? Like the sculptures where they, you know, you talk about nude sculptures and how they managed to make the thin sort of dress over nude and things like that, so you can see through it. It's like see-through, but it's all carved in stone. It's so impressive, and I sit there and I go, well, how do they do that? But with contemporary art, with modern art, I just think it all sucks.
That thing's not quite Michelangelo's Pietà, is it?
No.
I did.
No.
I did. If anyone wants to Google Michelangelo's Pietà, just a wonder in marble.
Yeah.
That actually took, obviously, so much skill and time and energy. But yeah, so I like things like Caravaggio or Titian or something. Something exactly as you said. It was like, how is that even possible?
I love that.
In 2D
That's
on a bit of canvas. How did you even...
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, this is what I was talking about as well.
But
Yes.
That versus the square tin we saw a moment ago.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's incredible.
Look at her hand
the
under his armpit. Incredible. Look at the expression on her face for a moment. Just actually taking the expression on her face. Yeah, quite remarkable.
Yeah. So it's a shame, really, but that's my pitch on why modern art sucks.
Hi folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that segment, and if you did, you can go and get issue 2 of Islander magazine from shop.lotus.com. It's available all across the world, and of course contains the cutting edge of right-wing thought and the most relevant aesthetics you'll see anywhere. While you're at it, come and follow us over on Twitter, X, at _lotuseaters_com, and I'll see you next time.